What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the 2 Samuel chapter 14. We are going to be diving into and have an understanding of the reconciliation of David with Absalom, a lesson on balancing justice with compassion and mercy. It is very important that God's people is able to execute and be able to do the will of the Father. But when we fall short, when we are faced with sin, and we have made mistakes, God must always execute justice on us. And we are going to deal with that today. I advise you to read this. If you're not going to listen to the video, I advise you to read this chapter to get a better understanding. Before we start, some tips. I want you to think of David as being Jesus or God. I want you to tap into what David must do. And I want you to also look at Absalom and Amnon as believers and what God has to do to us when we have fallen away. How do we become reconciled back with him, and how he shows justice, but he balances with compassion and mercy. Well, without further ado, let's get right into this intro. When God gives you that peace, you will rest in his security, his protection, his comfort, his love. Justice is an absolute essential within society. Without justice, society deteriorates and becomes disorderly. Immorality, lawlessness, violence runs rampant through an unjust society. To keep the peace and protect life and property, justice must be required. Criminal acts must be prosecuted by legal and just laws. But even more than the laws of justice, citizens of society must treat each other righteously and justly. Righteous and just behavior must be one of the dominant traits in an orderly society. For if men and women do not treat each other as they should, conflict will arise. And out of conflict comes anger, hostility, assault, murder, and war. But in living righteous and just lives and executing legal justice, there is still one other dominant trait that is necessary for an orderly society. That trait is compassion and mercy. Since the legal rules and laws of justice have little, if any, feeling or emotions involved, justice must always be balanced with kindness and open-mindedness. To live only by laws would make us hardly more than machines or robots, never showing feelings or emotions nor considering the extenuating circumstances or the need of the individuals. It is not enough to be merely a legal society controlled by laws that are nothing more than rules written on ink and paper. There is far more to life than just rules and regulations. There are the virtues and emotions and the inner knowledge that arise both from our spirit and our bodies as human beings. Therefore, when we dealing with justice, we must always execute with an inner knowledge of mercy and compassion. All man is both a rational and an emotional being. A man poses both regulated and spontaneous urges, both just and loving actions. Balancing justice with compassion and mercy is the theme running throughout this present passage. In seeking revenge, Absalom had killed his brother Amnon for having raped his sister Tamar. David had refused to execute justice against the crown prince Amnon despite his reprehensible crime and incest and rape. Consequently, Absalom set out to execute justice himself. After killing the crown prince Amnon, justice also needed to be executed against Absalom. But in the midst of executing the needed justice, King David needed to be controlled by compassion and mercy. He needed to balance justice with the truth of the situation, demonstrating a heart of love for everyone involved. This is the subject of the present passage, the reconciliation of David with Absalom, a lesson on balancing justice with compassion. We will learn 3 lessons from here: mercy and compassion and human forgiveness. We'll also learn a lesson of reconciliation, but we will also expose a spirit of conceit, arrogance, and self-exhortation. Without further ado, let's get right into this video. The definition of compassion is to have a tender heart for the person or persons. The definition of mercy is in the Eastern Dictionary. compassion for the miserable. Its object is mercy. By atoning sacrifice of Christ, a way is open for the exercise of mercy towards the Son of Men, in harmony with demands of truth and righteousness. In Christ's mercy and truth meets together, mercy is also a Christian grace. Joab realized how much the king longed to see Absalom, so he sent for a woman from Tekoa who had a reputation of great wisdom. He said to her, "Pretend you are in mourning, wearing mourning clothes, and do not put on lotion. Act like a woman who has been mourning for the dead for a long time. Then go to the king and tell him the story I am about to tell you." Then Joab told her what to say. When the woman from Tekoa approached the king, she bowed with her face to the ground in deep respect and cried out, "O king, help me." "What's the trouble?" the king asked. "Alice, I'm a widow," she replied. "My husband is dead. My 2 sons had a fight out in the field, and since no one was there to stop it, one of them was killed. Now the rest of the family is demanding, 'Let us have your son. We will execute him for murdering his brother. He doesn't deserve to inherit the family's property. They want to extinguish the only coal I have left, and my husband's name and family will disappear from the face of the earth. Leave it to me," the king told her. "Go home. I'll see to it that no one touches him." "Oh, thank you, my lord the king." The woman from Tekoa replied, "If you are criticized for helping me, let the blame fall on me and on my father's house, and let the king and his throne be innocent. If anyone objects," the king said, "bring him to me. I can assure you he will never harm you again." Then she said, "Please swear to me by the Lord your God that you won't let anyone take vengeance against my son. I want no more bloodshed. As surely as the Lord lives," he replied, "not a hair on your son's head will be disturbed." "Please allow me to ask one more thing of you, my lord the king," she said. "Go ahead and speak," he responded. She replied, "Why don't you do as much for the people of God as you have promised to do for me? You have convicted yourself in the making this decision because you have refused to bring home your own banished son. All of us must die eventually. Our lives are like water spilled out on the ground, which cannot be gathered up. But God does not just sweep life away. Instead, he devises ways to bring us back when we have been separated from him. I have come to plead with my lord the king because people have threatened me. I said to myself, perhaps the king will listen to me and rescue us from those who cut us off from the inheritance God has given us. Yes, my lord the king will give us peace of mind again. I know that you are like an angel of God in discerning good from evil. May the Lord your God be with you. I must know one thing," the king replied, "and tell me the truth." "Yes, my lord the king," she responded. "Did Joab put you up to this?" And the woman replied, "My lord the king, how can I deny it? Nobody can hide anything from you. Yes, Joab sent me and told me what to say. He did it to place the matter before you in a different light. But you are as wise as an angel of God, and you understand everything that happens amongst us." So the king sent for Joab and told him, "All right, go and bring back the young man Absalom." Joab bowed with his face to the ground in deep respect and said, "At last, I know that I have gained your approval, my lord the king, for you have granted me this request." Then Joab went to Geshur and brought Absalom back to Jerusalem. But the king gave this order: "Absalom may go to his own house, but he must never come into my presence." So Absalom did see the king. Verse 25. Now Absalom was praised as the most handsome man in all of Israel. He was flawless from head to toe. He cut his hair only once a year, and then only because it was so heavy. When he weighed it out, it came to be 5 pounds to 5 pounds. He had 3 sons and 1 daughter. His daughter's name was Tamar, and she was very beautiful. Absalom lived in Jerusalem for 2 years, but never got to see the king. Then Absalom sent to Joab to ask him to intercede for him, but Joab refused to come. Absalom sent for him a second time, but again Joab refused to come. So Absalom said to his servant, "Go and set fire to Joab's barley field and the field next to mine." So they set his field on fire, and as Absalom had commanded. Then Joab came to Absalom at his house and demanded, "Why did your servant set my field on fire?" And Absalom replied, "Because I wanted you to ask the king why he brought me back to Jeshurun." If he didn't intend to see me, I might as well have stayed there. Let me see the king. If he finds me guilty of anything, then let him kill me." So Joab told the king what Absalom had said, and then at last David summoned Absalom, who came and bowed low before the king, and the king kissed him. Let's break this down. So we'll see in verses 1 to 11 the plan devised by Joab to reconcile David and Absalom. This lesson is on mercy, compassion, and human forgiveness. As we read, Joab sensed David's need and sought to help him. He enlisted the service of a wise woman who was to pretend she was in desperate need, to dress and act as if she had been mourning and grieving for the dead, to appear before David pleading a legal case that she was to apply to David and Absalom. The woman humbly appeared before King David, pleading for help. The king granted permission for her to present her case. The woman dramatically acted out the teaching story of Joab had hired her to roleplay before King David. She was a widow with 2 sons who had had a fight. One killed the other. Her family relatives were demanding justice, that the surviving son be executed. Her family had ulterior motives to eliminate the heir so the inheritance would be available to her family. The result was she would lose her only burning coal, her son. She and her husband would be left with no descendants. Their name would die out. David issued the verdict. Her son will live and be spared, shown mercy. The woman expressed her deepest appreciation. She would take responsibility for any blame or criticism for the decision of mercy. David strongly warned anyone who criticized the judgment of mercy, they would face him. The woman asked David to confirm his promise by an oath. She must be assured that the avenger of blood would not take vengeance on her son. We see these in Numbers chapter 35 verses 9 to 34 and Deuteronomy chapter 19 verses 11 to 13. David assured the woman. He swore by a strong oath that not a hair on his head will be out of place. Now we're moving on to verses 12 to 24, and what we'll get from this is the plan involved convincing David of the need to be reconciled with his son Absalom. This is a lesson on reconciliation. And what we've read, the woman's request to speak again, and her 2 questions directed to King David. By banishing the crown prince, was he not leaving Israel helpless just as her family was doing to her? By showing mercy to her son, did he not convict himself? The woman's argument, we die and are spilled water that cannot be recovered. This is why God seeks to save and reconcile life. God does not destroy life, neither should we. The woman returned to her story, expected David to apply it to his situation, her fear, what the people might do to her son. Her hope was that David would save her son, which means apply the judgment of mercy to himself, Absalom, and Israel. That David will give her rest, peace of mind. That David would act as wisely as God in showing mercy, for he sat as an angel of God in judging good and evil. That God will guide him. David suspected that Joab, the woman, had collaborated. He urged her to answer his question truthfully. He asked if Joab had sent her, conspired with her in this story or legal case. The woman confessed the truth. She could not deny it, not hide it by turning to the right or to the left. Joab had sent her, given her the story to tell the king. He did this to provide a different insight. He did this because the king was as wise as an angel of God. He knew what to do. David was moved to balance justice with compassion and mercy. He ordered Joab to go to bring Absalom back. Joab humbled himself and honored David. He thanked the king for granting his request. Joab traveled to Geshur and brought Absalom back to Jerusalem. David still demanded some acts of just punishment. Absalom was denied access to the royal palace and never allowed to see King David. Now we move down to 25 to 33. 25 to 33, we'll see the plan eventually devised by Absalom to be fully reconciled with David. Now we see a spirit of conceit, arrogance, and self-exaltation all exposed in this verses that I just mentioned. His appearance of royalty, it was exposed of a spirit of conceit. His handsome appearance received a great deal of attention and popularity and support. In verse 25, we see that. His hair was a matter of pride to him. His family, he had 3 sons and 1 daughter. He named his daughter after his sister, which is in chapter 13, verse 1, Tamar. His denied access to the royal palace lasted for 2 years. His plan of reconciliation exposed his spirit of arrogance and self-exhortation. He requested Joab to visit him and was rejected not once but twice. He devised a scheme of forcing confrontation by setting Joab adjourning field on fire. He was finally confronted by Joab, questioned why he had set fire to the field. He explained his reason and made his appeal for Joab to visit his father on his behalf, that he would have been better off to stay in Geshur. He wanted to stay in Geshur. He felt that he was better off if he was going to be exiled, that he wanted either to be reconciled or executed by the king. He got his wish. Joab took his appeal to David. His plan of reconciliation worked. David summoned his son Absalom. He humbled himself. Hypocritically, he humbled himself, but he did it hypocritically, and we'll see that in chapter 15. But David accepted him. He showed him compassion and mercy. He forgave him, even though he acted in arrogance and self-exhortation. But he forgave him and he reconciled himself. And Jesus does the same for us always. I want to thank you for watching. God bless you and God bless your family.